Welcome back to the My Inner Struggle podcast. I'm your host, Laura Ferry. I'm so excited for today's episode. This is number 62 because I had the chance to sit down with someone who embodies heart-centered leadership and resilience in such a powerful way. Jodi, the founder of Bloom and Grow Coaching, joined me for a truly honest and inspiring conversation about what it means to build a business from a place of purpose while navigating motherhood, challenges, and everything in between. Her coaching work supports at-risk youth and the impact she's making is incredible. We talked about her personal journey, what it took to start and grow her business, how she balances life as a mom and entrepreneur, and the mindset that keeps her going even on the tough days. If you're a woman walking your own entrepreneurial path, especially while juggling family or facing your own inner doubts, this conversation will absolutely speak to you. So grab your coffee, settle in, and come get uncomfortable with me. Hey, welcome back. I have Jodi from Bloom and Grow Coaching here with me for an honest and authentic conversation. Hey, Jodi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good.
Didn't that just feel like we were like kids and we're like we're pretending right now? Like that's what it felt like for me. I'm like, I feel like I'm 10 and I'm like playing at something. Anyway, that was kind of silly. So tell me about who you are and what is Bloom and Grow Coaching?
So, Bloom and Grow Coaching is a non-clinical life coaching and mentoring program for at-risk youth and young adults, ages ranging from 8 to 21 plus. We are a non-clinical program. So, what that means is we really focus on helping young people be able to decide what areas of their lives that they need improvement on. And we help them set realistic goals and help them be able to achieve those goals by going out into the community in which they live in, and work towards those goals. So that could be anything from job readiness skills, healthy communication skills, being able to work on being able to figure out what their purpose is, being able to figure out if for young people who are in high school, what comes after high school, which path they want to take. The program is really personalized, right? So it's really hard to say like what exactly it looks like for each person because it looks so different.
Mm-hmm.
We are able to give young to decide what they feel like they need to work on and create a plan together to be able to work on those things. So that's what's different than it just being a straightforward mentoring program, right? That's where the life coaching component comes in. That's where the 8 dimensions of wellness come in. And we are able to give them kind of the tools that they need to be able to learn how to self-assess their lives and then help them be able to learn how to create a plan to be able to achieve the goals that they want to do so. So we're in place to be able to help them be able to achieve those goals, and in hopes that, when they're no longer working with us, that they then have the knowledge set to be able to do so themselves. So we serve Sussex, Morris, Warren, Hunterton, Passaic, Bergen, and yeah, yes. Let me say that again. Sussex, Warren, Morris, Bergen, Passaic, and Somerset County. So sorry
Okay.
about that. We've been like
No.
expanding and being able to go to a bunch of different counties than we originally had started. Because when I started Bloom and Grow Coaching, I started it in Sussex County by myself. And we just celebrated our 3-year anniversary. And in 3 years, we've been able to serve over 300 youth. And because of the growth that we've had, the team has expanded. So it's no longer just me. We have 21 other coaches on the team now as well, we are able to then pair youth with up accordingly based on their needs. So all of our coaches have different specialties and expertise. So when we have a youth coming in, we're able to really focus on the piece of connection before correction. So meaning that we're able to pair someone who's going to be a good fit for them based on their needs that they have.
That's really a beautiful thing. And I know when I first met you at an event, I think I had been stalking you on LinkedIn for a little bit or Instagram or both probably. But what you're doing is truly beautiful. And I wish that there was something like this when I was a teenager. I think that would have helped me tremendously. And you and I have since spoken about that a little bit and just, that need for forward movement and empowerment, encouragement, all of those beautiful things that you provide to all of those individuals. So I want to ask you, of course, we're here for an authentic and honest conversation, and I think we're kind of both of the same mindset. Um, would you mind sharing a little bit about your story? What inspired you to start your business, and how have you evolved from the beginning to now?
Right.
In 3 sentences. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, so Bloom and Grow coaching has actually been a dream of mine for a long time. I've wanted to work with specific youth that are categorized as that at-risk category, right? There are sometimes the youth get overlooked a lot. The reason why Bloom and Grow coaching was so important to me was because I was an at-risk youth myself. When we think about that at-risk youth umbrella, it's pretty big, right?
Right.
It's not.
Like, so what does that mean in this sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at-risk youth are, youth who are struggling with their mental health, youth who are, living maybe in a home that there are different, hardships being faced. These are youth who are struggling socially, and getting out there and being able to socialize is something that they're really greatly struggling with. Um, when we like that at risk umbrella, I think over time is just continuing to grow, because a
Mm-hmm.
majority of youth and adults ourselves are technically at risk, right? We're all struggling with something to some degree. But that at risk youth population was so near and dear to my heart because that was me, right? I had a really difficult upbringing. Both my parents struggled with substance use. And because of their substance use, I was taken essentially out of my home after my mom passed away. I was right on the cusp of being 14 years old. And when my mom had passed, my dad was in rehab. So he was unable to care for me. So I was taken in by a family member that I didn't necessarily know. No, that sounds
Mm-hmm.
crazy. But knew of her, but didn't have a connection or didn't have a relationship with her, but was lucky enough to be taken in by my distant family, to give me the opportunity at a second chance, right?
Mm-hmm.
That at risk category, when we talk about that, it's kind of the heartbeat behind Bloom and Grow coaching, because the other reason why I wanted to start it, kind of outside of even just my own personal experiences growing up, we look at something called ACEs, which is called Adverse Childhood Experiences. And one of the biggest things is if you score a 6 or higher, right, which puts you at a very high risk category, technically.
Okay.
One of the biggest things they say to help young people who have extensive ACEs is having a healthy support person outside of the family dynamic. And they say it's something that is, hopefully, if a young person who has those high level of ACEs, it becomes a huge pivotal turning point. And that was one of those other things behind Bloom and Grow. Not only me being an at-risk youth, but I had somebody that kind of helped me as well growing up. And it was the school my school's it's called SAC, right? So she was there to be able to help young people, and just across the board with things that they were struggling with. She ran a bereavement group in school. She did different kind of community service opportunities for young people, and she kind of took the kids who were struggling kind of under her wing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to name drop her. She's incredible. Her name's Lorraine Sorg. Um,
Perfect.
and she completely believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself, because I didn't have the tools to believe in myself yet. And I remember her saying to me, we had a very distinct conversation. It was my junior year of high school. And she had said to me, like, you realize that you are not your parents, right? Neither of my parents graduated high school. So my mom was illiterate. She couldn't read. And my dad dropped out when he was like 15 years old. So neither of them completed high school. So the idea of college was like, what? Like, that's foreign, right? But she had said to me, like, you are not your parents. You do not have to take the same path that they did. And she invested so much time into me. And, back then it wasn't labeled as like a mentor or a life coach, but
Right.
she was my life coach, and she truly believed in me. And I had went to college, and when I had to do my internship, when I was in college, I did my internship with her. And it was like this beautiful full circle moment.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And I then realized, working in the human service field before I started Bloom and Grow Coaching, I worked with the at risk youth population and I've worked with adults. I've worked with various vulnerable populations for over the last 16 years. But my heart was really with at risk youth.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that there was a gap in services, right? Meaning a lot of young people that I was working with prior in my other job all had amazing clinical support. They all were working with an active therapist, right? And it was helping them so, so much. They were learning how to be able to manage their mental health. They were learning healthy coping skills. They were learning how to be able to move past trauma. But the thing that was missing was forward facing movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I had said, like, all right, this is needed in Sussex County. This is needed in our community. And Bloom and Grow Coaching, our mentoring and life coaching services work best in conjunction with therapy, right?
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree on that front. Yes, yeah.
Right. It's
Because
almost like
that, yeah, we did have a conversation about that because as you are uncovering things as you're moving forward, you need to learn where those triggers are coming from and why. And it's really great to work with a therapist to dig
yeah.
into those things to move forward because otherwise you stay stagnant and stuck. Yeah.
So, like I said, we saw that there was a gap. I saw that there was a gap, and I knew it was something I wanted to do for a long time. And then, chose faith over fear and decided to kind of put it out there in 2022. And I gave myself 6 months. I said, in 6 months, if I can get this off the ground, wonderful. If I can't, I will go back to being a caseworker, and which was something that I loved. So it wasn't something that I wasn't happy with, but it was something that I needed to try, and
Hmm.
it took off very quickly. Within 6 months, I had 62 youth enrolled, and I then realized I needed to build a team so that we can be able to serve more youth with different diverse needs.
I think actually, like, because I've met other business owners too, and I can't remember in our first conversation when we met for the first time too, talking about all these different things. And when you're in this like industry that you're trying to help people, you want to hold everyone's hand, and going into this thinking, like um, sorry, I don't know if you can hear that or not, but the landscapers are outside. We're just going to roll with that. Hopefully, it's not too loud, but it's such as life. But going into it, going like, I'm going to help all of these people, and it's not physically possible. Like, even if you want to, and that's kind of tough, I would imagine, as a business owner to kind of let go of that control a little bit, even though it's with good intention, and you're like that you're a certain demographic of your youth, whether it's maybe it's a male, just for that, like, that wants to connect with a male, not necessarily a female. Just knowing that you're serving them well, but also releasing that control as a business owner to like let them fly and do their thing, because that they've got it, that they're good at what they do, and that they have that same mission of yours in mind.
Yeah.
So was that a challenge for you to start doing that in your business, like letting go of that control a little bit? And
Yeah, it
yeah.
definitely. And I think it was actually really, really good in a sense. I had to take a step back and realize, for this to grow the way that I wanted it to, I had to find people that were going to have strengths that I don't have.
Yeah.
And that's where I brought on Cassandra, and Cassandra is the director of programs and partnerships. So she has been such a guiding light. Am lucky enough to have in my life, just not only just in my in my business, but in my personal life, right? Because when you have somebody, when you're starting a business and you're running a business, who understands what the mission is, right? They
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
understand, and not only understand, but they believe in the mission, and
Yes.
they say, okay, let me give you a different perspective on maybe how we could do things. Like, what are your thoughts, right? So I think, yes, was it hard to relinquish some of that and say, okay, I need to be able to be open and have, once again, we're going to use that word, like, have faith and trust that
Mm-hmm.
people that I'm bringing on are going to follow through with what the overlying purpose of Bloom and Grow Coaching is. And luckily, we've had that. And the biggest part of, I think, having us grow the way that we have was me recognizing what I'm good at, and then also recognizing what I'm not good at. And the
Yeah.
things I'm not good at, bringing on people who are good at those things. So it's a
That
very
is
much,
a Yeah, well, and like I want to compliment you on that so much because I work with so many business owners, right? Like, so I can tell you who's going, like, not in some like higher source level, like who's going to be successful and who's not, but it's all about your mindset and knowing where your personal growth is in
yeah,
building a business is huge and not being so insecure that you're like, I can't bring them on. What if they know more than I do? What if they, that's bullshit because even if you are the boss, there's no reason that you should be scared of bringing on somebody that has those skills that you lack because one, you're going to grow as a person and learn and but you're teaching them something too just because they're more seasoned in one area than you may be, it doesn't mean that it's a competition. So, like, I wanted to mention that because there's a lot of business owners I think that shy away from challenging themselves in that way or stay stuck
right,
in that scarcity mindset because they're afraid, like, well, what if, or, holding everything close to the cup, like, well, what if they take this information, they go start something themselves? Well, that you have no control over that anyway. And having somebody like Cassandra, I've met Cassandra, she's a wonderful person and extremely organized, which I love, obviously. Um, and having that right hand person with you on that journey is fucking huge as a business owner. Someone that believes in your mission and can ride that roller coaster with you and be
Ooh,
understanding of that roller coaster. Because as we have said, like business is a roller coaster, even when it's going well, like, from month to month and you're working with a lot of agencies, right,
mm,
to help the youth that you're helping. And sometimes, funding, is a struggle right now, obviously. And keeping those consistent clients to keep everything going is a struggle sometimes.
yeah.
So it's really great that you have the team that you have and that everybody works so well together and following that mission of Bloom and Grow Coaching.
Well, you're only as good as the team that you have, right?
That's
Like you
right.
are only as successful as the team that you have. And when you have multiple people on a team, everybody brings their own value, right?
Hmm.
One person cannot duplicate all of those values.
Right.
They just you physically can't, right? Because that's life experience, right? That's expertise, that's levels of education, that's different trainings, right? So not one person can have all of those things. But when you have a team of people who this person brings this and this person brings this, that means the whole business as a whole then has all of it,
Hmm.
right?
I just had
Like,
this visual while you were doing this, and I was imagining you picking flowers, and maybe this is the Bloom
yeah,
and Grow coaching thing, picking flowers, and you're picking all these different flowers, and together it becomes this beautiful bouquet, essentially. And it's just such a mix of different personalities and offerings and experience, because that is a big thing when you're coaching people. You like when you are seeking out a coach or a mentor, you want someone that can relate to the things that you've been through, and that is something that I think that you do beautifully. The team that you've put together has, are coming from all different um, walks of life, for lack of
yeah,
anything to better. I don't think I've ever used that phrase before until now, but coming from all different like walks of life and experience and hardship and success, right? Like,
yeah,
because that's important too. It's not just like what you've been through, but where you're going and what you've done with it too.
right.
So you've done a beautiful job with that. It's really been exciting to like watch you. Like I said, I've been stalking you for a long time. So just watching you guys grow together as a team and all the different things that you offer, it's just beautiful. So, is there a particular moment or accomplishment in your entrepreneurial journey that you're particularly proud of like yourself? Is there anything that stands out to you?
So I think the one that kind of stands out to me the most is the fact, it's kind of going back to what we just talked about. It was the fact of learning how to surrender a little bit, right? That as somebody who likes control and
Hmm.
likes to go in a certain way and feels like everything needs to go like this, and this, and if not, it's all going to fall apart, right? I think it's not like this one specific pivotal moment where I could be like, oh, we achieved this, and I'm like super proud as an entrepreneur. I'm super proud of this. I think it's in general, I'm super proud of learning how to have a growth mindset and learning, like I said, that it is okay to not know everything. That
Right.
doesn't mean that you are not going to be successful in your business. That has nothing to do with it, right? It means the things that you do not know, find those who do.
Right.
Learn from around you. Be open to constructive criticism. When things don't go right, that is a learning opportunity. So everything or the ideas that I've wanted to bring to Bloom and Grow, or the things that we have all of them been like, ball out the park? No, they haven't. But for each kind of quote unquote failure, there has been this huge opportunity for growth and learning.
Hmm.
And the biggest thing that I'm proud of in general as being an entrepreneur is learning to surrender and learning to recognize that failure is needed for success, um, and to set up goals yourself, right? I think we work with young people to set goals, right? And Bloom and Grow coaching was a dream until I created a plan, right? And that's how goals work,
Yep.
right? I think a lot of being an entrepreneur, and this is my first time doing this, right? So I always say, like, learning to give yourself grace. And when things don't go the way that you thought they were going to go in your head, maybe that's because they weren't supposed to go that way and something
Right.
big is going to come out of it.
And that
Um,
happens more often than not, I think, right? We have this idea, and I think I've said it before. It's like be um, confident or be structured in your goal, but be flexible in your plan to get there because
yeah,
it's not going to go exactly as you want it.
right.
We might, take the long way sometimes, but
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
it's crazy. So I want to talk about the balancing act a little bit. You are a mom, and I talk to a lot of moms in business. It is my passion, and uh, to kind of give you a voice. But we're here to be vulnerable and authentic. And um, do you have like how do you balance your personal and professional life? You have more than one child. You have a
Yeah.
full plate. You have a business. You have a spouse. You have a house. You have all of these things. So what does your balancing act look like, or how do you balance?
It's a work in progress, right?
Yes.
I think something that I am actively working towards right now, actually, is since we've hit our 3 years, is I'm working on active balance more. So, what does that mean as a mom, right? That means originally women start businesses so that they could have flexibility, right? So that
Mhm.
and play and wear the multiple hats and do so well. Um,
Mhm.
Still navigating that, right? I'm still, and I think the biggest thing is I'm starting to try to be more aware of what I'm doing and how I'm spending my time.
Mhm.
So the balancing act is okay, I'm going to work this many hours, right? And originally I was working 7 days a week when I started Bloom and Grow coaching. And now it's the weekends are completely my time with my children, uninterrupted, sports, all of the things. Does that not mean I'm not doing the things during the week? No, but that means nothing Bloom and Grow related is done on Saturday and Sunday because I need to be present for my kids. My kids need to
Right.
know that, yes, mom is a business owner, which is awesome for kids to see, I think. I think that's really important, right? Because my kids also have learned rather quickly, right, that it is important to have your own levels of like success and to follow your quote unquote dreams. Um,
Mhm.
But I will tell you, man, it's freaking hard balancing
Yeah, it
both.
is.
Not easy. It is hard. And does that mean I've made it to every school picnic, and every after school function? I most definitely have not. I
Right.
have not. You know what? Quite frankly, that's okay. That is okay. I think moms, we're really, really good at mom guilting ourselves. And I
Yeah.
I'm really good at being like, oh, so and so's mom was had this, and so's mom was at that. Oh, she posted on Facebook, and she blah blah. And in reality, like, it is okay to not be at every single last thing. You sometimes we have to learn to prioritize, right? Like as a parent, and I say like, all right, like what are the big things, right? My sons wanted me to be a chaperone at that one of their field trips. I was like, got it. All right, I'm going to manage that. I'm going to make sure that I work my schedule around that, right? Sporting events, got it, on it, important, being present, being there, having
Hmm.
see that I'm proud of them and I'm there to support them, right? But I think this whole thing of balance between being a business owner, working a job, being a mom, I think a lot of it is influenced by guilt. And unfortunately, guilt is not always productive, right? So I think
Right.
we need to look at like what's realistic. And I think my realistic thing is, like I said, I say weekends, we are not talking Bloom and Grow coaching. We are not on the computer doing Bloom and Grow coaching. I am not taking calls. I am not doing anything of that nature. I'm also learning, right? Like I'm also learning. And I think
Right.
also having that conversation and being open with my kids has been really beneficial, and being like, I'm figuring this out. Like, what do you guys think? Like, what is important to you? Like, where is it most important for? I would love to be at every single thing, right? But like I said, that mom guilt, and it's not possible. It's not
Right.
possible. So it's like I said, the biggest thing, I think that it's something that I'm still actively working on and will continuously have to work on, because it's never going to stay the same, right? Because as your kids get older and things change, the amount your kids need you around all the time, but that starts to look different, right? Like
Yeah.
starts very.
Yes.
So for me, I like say in myself internally, like, yes, I've got this mastered. Do I? Not really, but maybe for now it's okay. And that
Until it changes. Yeah.
until it changes. So for this season right now, it's good, but the next season, it might not well be.
Right.
Um, I think the biggest thing in general, not only just balance, it's learning to give grace across all the boards, like across everything in your life. Like none of us are supposed to be perfect. We're all constantly learning. This is my first time being a mom to two 12-year-olds and an 8-year-old, and being a business owner. And this is their first time experiencing this aspect of their life as well.
Yeah.
So,
I think what's admirable is the communication. So, when you are talking to your kids and you're like, okay, this is, I mean, I kind of do this and I'm like, this is what the week looks like. This is what
yeah,
what are those priorities? We have summer coming up. That's going to change. All the kids are going to be home. So then I'm like, okay, how am I going to navigate this one? So I have two teenagers and a 9-year old. And it's still, I mean, it's easier now than when they were little, but
yeah,
there's certain aspects to it like I kind of miss when they were little that we didn't have to like rush out the door in the morning. And so I look forward to summer for that reason, except when you throw in summer camp and all those types of things into it. But I like what you said about the weekend and making that sacred. That's something that I've been navigating the last few months. And I've been like, okay, this is not that I was working all weekend that I had the kids, but when I didn't have the kids, because I am divorced. And so every other weekend they go with their dad. And so those weekends that I was on my own, I would just be like a machine and use busyness to kind of occupy that empty space too. But not for nothing, when you're building a business in the beginning, you are grinding a little bit. Like you have to put in those hours. And now I'm kind of navigating that same thing and knowing we have the summer coming up. We just kind of had this discussion. I was like, we need to go to the beach more this summer. So if I can arrange my schedule in such a way that I can take a day off during the week and we once a week this is what we're doing, like we're gonna, and if it's raining we'll do something else, but otherwise that's the idea. I might have to do a little bit on a Saturday. Is that cool with you? Like, is that okay, so that we can have that time or whatever? But I think communication is the key to anything. And I think that we spoke about this before too, because as your kids get older, even if they're quite little, but if you talk to them like they're adults, or like with respect. You're not talking down to them or telling them this is XYZ what we're doing. It's about mutual respect, and they feel good because they've gotten to weigh in on that decision, even if it's not, the outcome isn't what they wanted, but that they get to have input in that. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. And I don't know that I was always that way, honestly, or if it's just something that I've kind of culminated in my own self growth journey, just to talk to them, with a different level of respect that they deserve, really, just to weigh in on that. Because I know yours are similar in age too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So my identical twins are 12, and then I have an 8-year-old son. So I have a house full of boys.
Yeah.
Um, so we're all navigating all of the things all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
constantly learning. So yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I think that
So,
is letting them
yeah.
talk, communicate, and know that we can have a conversation about things and that we're all learning. And I think a big thing too is a mom, like I own when I make a mistake, right? And
Hmm.
like it's also an open conversation piece. I'd be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot about da 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 da," and my bad. Like that was totally my bad. That was totally my mistake. Or even if something is said or done that maybe is not in that moment cognizant of like their feelings or emotions, like
Right.
owning that and saying
Yeah.
that. I
Yeah.
think that.
My youngest is the one that calls me out the most when I do make a mistake or whatever, and not ill-intentioned at all or anything. And she's like, I just wanted to let you know, like, thank you, dear. I'm sorry. That wasn't my intent. I am so sorry. And I definitely will do better next time. But yeah, she's the one that calls it out the most. But I think she holds me accountable too, like in a really good way. And I've said it before, she is like my mini me. She is the version of me. And I think I've healed so much, just being a mom, healed all those, like a lot of parts of myself that went through hard times when I was younger, that it helps me just become a better person. And then navigating like building a business, I think right now, um, I don't know how it is in your house, but sometimes it's hard, right? That riding that roller coaster and not having um, consistency sometimes and things like that. It's tough. And the more that you talk to them about it and say, like, hey, this is what's happening, they'll understand. And that, like you're giving them this information and knowledge that makes them a better person too, and them be either more understanding of someone else going through it, or when eventually one day, if they're going through something, that they're like, oh, I remember this. I remember when mom was going through this, and like, wow, how did she get through this, or how did she navigate that, how did you know what to do, think different things like that.
Yeah.
We're building these people, and it's
Oh
pretty
yeah.
neat.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. My one son, Leland, I always joke around like when I can't run Bloom and Grow coaching anymore, he's going to be running Bloom and Grow coaching because I just see instantly, because we've always had that open conversation of just not even just like things that we're doing within our home, but with life in general, right?
Yeah.
So like empathetic, and he is so understanding, even though he doesn't have maybe per se that lived experience himself. He has this level of feeling for people and asking questions. Like he asks like the most beautiful questions because they're with so much intent and
Hmm.
they're with so well thought out. And both of my twins, my identical twins, they have a deeper level of empathy, because they're both of my sons are deaf. So I think they have like this beautiful understanding of everyone is different, right? Like everyone is different and we're all going through our own things. And the best thing that we can do for someone is just be supportive, right? And I think that's like how we all have gone through something that
Hmm.
becomes like our gift, right? Because we
Yeah.
used our lived experience to then enrich or help somebody else. Um, I see both of my sons very much so being able to do that. And I see them naturally both being leaders. They're both very, very positive, very all inclusive, like very much so like that. And have been like that since they were little. So I always joke around with Leland and say, like, Leland, Like, this is going to be yours one day. And he's like, oh, I would love that, blah, blah, blah. So I see like that's like a really cool parenting moment too, right? Where you see your children when they have their own struggles or they face challenges, and when you get to watch them overcome it, and that you get to like one-on-one see how they take the things that they're being faced with and turn their challenges into strengths
Hmm.
is so incredibly beautiful to witness. I always say, like, if we're talking about mom wins, that is the biggest mom win.
I wholeheartedly agree with you. Talk about a legacy, leaving a legacy. Just, you know, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
really fucking cool. And I've definitely been in spots where, in the beginning, like it sucked a little bit,
Yeah.
and I know my oldest was definitely a little resentful of the lack of time that I had and things like that, or scrambling, trying to hold a lot. And I remember driving in the car thinking, like, man, I thought she'd be like proud of me. And it took a minute, and then I'm like, no, when she's 40 and she's navigating something, she's gonna go, how the hell did she do it? And that's when she'll be proud of me, and that's okay.
Right.
But yeah,
And that's okay, right?
and
Because
that's okay.
she doesn't at that time in that
She
point when
doesn't, yeah,
no, she's not, they're not able to, right? And it's
yeah,
like expecting someone to feel a certain way when at that moment they're not able to. It's like, okay, I get it. Like you said,
right.
when you're
And they've
older,
never been through it yet, like, yeah, she's
right,
got so much more, life to live before she can get there.
right. But
So
I've learned a lot from my kids, though. I will say that, like, our
so
lives,
freaking much.
our challenges, right? Our challenges that I went through as an at-risk youth, with both parents, struggling with active substance use, losing both my parents to their addiction, trying to navigate who I was as a young person, not feeling like my voice was ever heard, not knowing how to share my voice so it was heard. And then I watch my two 12-year-olds who are, like I said, are deaf. And I watch them advocate for themselves, like actively, like saying what they need from people to be able to hear appropriately, right? Because they both wear cochlear implants, advocating within school for their education, the accommodations that they need, watching them interact with people on the daily. I'm like, you guys are so much more advanced in certain things, even than I am as an adult. And I think that's like the biggest thing we want to for our kids, right? Like I always say to them, like, I want you to be and have so many more tools than I have. I want you to excel and be 1,000 times more successful than I could even imagine, right? So I like look at these things and these strengths that they have at 12 years old. And my 8-year-old has a lot of strengths too. He's like, he demands presence in a room. He's very, very strong-willed.
I'm sure he's
Which,
got some competition. He's got two big brothers ahead of
yeah,
him,
yeah,
Yeah.
you know, his personality is very strong, and I always say, like, he's going to do amazing things in this world. Just getting through parenting with somebody who's very strong-willed is a good time. It's a good time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um yeah, so like I said, my watching them be so confident in certain areas of their life and being so sure of themselves, I I look up to my kids truly. Like, I admire them in so many different ways, and they're another driving force behind why I started Bloom and Grow coaching. Right? If I could even believe in myself slightly and what I'm capable of, even just a little bit, as much as like they believe in themselves, like it was a learning curve. Like, learn from them, and
Hmm.
you seeing me kind of believe that I can do this, or even I was going to believe that I was going to try, right? That's one of those active moments where they get to kind of see me doing that in lifetime, and we're kind of displaying positive behavior, and we're not just talking, we're doing and we're showing. Um,
Hmm.
learn more from that anyway, right? We learn the young,
Taking action. Right.
yeah, action,
And
yeah,
you just said that beautifully too, is like providing them the tools. Listen, I didn't finish college yet. And I don't have all the answers to everything, but I definitely have tools to a lot that I can share. And so the more we can, like, your children, all of those things that you said, you should be proud of yourself as a mother because you have given them those tools. They have built that confidence because of you, and you've been there supporting them even when it's been hard on the inside, right? And like from the time that they're babies and moving forward. And that is our job as a mom, I feel like. And I wrote that in my book too. Like, I don't blame my mom for being mentally ill. I don't blame my mom for the abuse, but it was her job to do better. And so like and that is like my driving force, is not to be that. Like I have to continually do better and for my children, because that is my legacy.
Yeah, a thousand
Yeah.
percent. And, my thing was my mom was my first bully, right?
Hmm.
She believed
Same.
me, horrible about myself. And in reality, I was the one who was actively taking care of her. I had become parentified, right? So I was making sure my mom was showered. I was making sure she ate. I was putting her to bed, as she was struggled with alcoholism. So I was her caretaker. Yet in
Right.
the same breath, she would belittle me. She would make me feel terrible. She would rip me apart, and all of these things. And I look at that experience and I say, as a person, I have empathy and I have sympathy for her because she was struggling actively in addiction. As a mother, I have a hard time with it, right? Like, I have a hard time wrapping my brain around it. So it's almost like having to separate those two roles, right? Understanding her as a person, but as a mother, and kind of the relationship that her and I had. I knew I didn't want to have that relationship
Yeah.
with my, right? And I didn't know what a healthy relationship looked like for a
Hmm.
mother and a child, but I knew I was going to do the opposite of what we had. And I think the big part of that was like making sure that my sons knew to advocate for themselves, and they knew that, it's their ability, it's not their disability, but it's technically labeled as a permanent disability, right? That doesn't define who they are. That doesn't take away from anything whatsoever of what they're capable of doing. And that was something that, instead of, like my mom belittling me on every little thing, everything, even things I did right, I was belittled, right?
Hmm.
And I was like, well, I'm totally going to do the opposite for my sons. I'm going to lift them up so high that if somebody tries to come and tear them down, they're going to be like, eh, that doesn't really mean anything. I like me. You don't have to like me, but I like me. So it's okay.
And that
So
is
yeah.
a beautiful thing. And I know like that when you come from a place like, so you said do exactly the opposite, and I've witnessed it in so many different relationships in my life, that like you have, I think we're near each other in age, but like, so our generation, the generation after us, or I'm sorry, the generation before us, so those kids are like in their late 20s and things
Mm,
like that, like they were trying to break this generational cycle, but went like the total opposite, right? For doing
right.
everything for their kids so much that they
Yeah.
can't do things for themselves. And it's a huge generalization, but you can see the patterns, right? Because
Yeah.
it came from a place of, maybe abuse or
Hmm.
neglect or things like that, but they went the polar opposite. And you've done such a beautiful job sort of like getting somewhere in the middle, right? Like, you're not doing everything for your kids. They are responsible for
Right.
themselves.
Yeah.
And I think we talked about this once before, is like, I have high expectations for my kids, that they need to help. Otherwise, we can't all cohesively have time together. Like,
Yeah.
somebody's going to be torn in other directions. We're a team.
Hmm.
And but I'm here for you. Like, this is
Right.
all about like love and working together. And um, uh, it's just so different from like where I came from. And I think one of the things that you had mentioned, like, I had this like realization of how different I parent than my mother when I was going through this sort of healing journey from all of that childhood trauma. And I was having this day with my youngest where she was like freaking the fuck out basically about cleaning her room, and how like if I had done that, I would have just gotten hit, like over and over again. It was crazy.
Right.
But I was able to navigate that as a mom using my tools, not to like lose my shit on her, and just go like, I think you need to just take a time out for yourself. It's
Yeah.
really not that big of a deal. Let's just get it done,
Right.
whatever. But it was like a huge moment for me like to realize like, wow, I've got this. I'm doing a better job. I didn't lose my shit. Of course, we all lose our shit at times, but you know
Oh,
what I mean.
oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. So like that was an interesting kind of realization, I guess I should say. Have you ever had any like that and specifically like that you caught yourself in a mom moment and you're like, wow, I'm doing a fucking great job.
Yeah. So I think I mean, I think it's easier sometimes for us to say the things that we're like, oh man, I did not handle that as well as I should have. But I think my
Hmm.
biggest, like my quote unquote mom win is actually something that I've learned working with young people and working with teenagers and those young adult population. After speaking with them, one of the questions I sometimes ask of them, actually a lot of times, is what do you need right now from, parent, guardian, support person that you're not getting?
Hmm.
Like, what is it that you need that you're not getting? And if you were to get it, how do you think things would be different? And there was like an ongoing trend. And to the point where I like started to write it down because I was like, all right, this is weird. The biggest thing that I heard was I just want to be heard, right? I just want someone to sit down and listen and
Hmm.
not always feel like they need to lecture. And I just need to be heard. And I don't need like advice all the time, right? So, okay, I'm going to take that, right? I'm going to take that. If I'm seeing it reoccurring with young people, I'm going to take that and apply that to my parenting. And when my kids come to me and they have something going on, instead of using the knee jerk reaction of saying, I could fix this, like I could fix this,
Yes.
let me fix this, I say, do you need me to listen or do you need advice? Which one is it? You tell me what you need and we'll go from there, right? And a majority of the time, they just need someone to listen. So
Yeah.
I and do a lot of myself for that mom win, right? Because not only being a mom and we want to fix everything, working in the field prior to this of human services, um, our job is to kind of fix things, right? So I have had to re-establish what that looks like and what my kids need when they're coming to me. And that has been like, I think my biggest win because it was something I've actively had to really work really, really hard at.
Hmm.
Um, and because of that, you find, and I have found, when you take that approach, your kids are more likely to come to you when the shit hits the fan, right? Or when
Yeah.
they're struggling with something.
Yes.
Because I said this to you before, right? Like imagine if you were going through something and every single time you went to this one person that you like loved so much and you felt really was the person for you to be vulnerable around and they lectured you
Hmm.
every single time you would say, you know what? Like, I'm not going to come to them anymore. Like, I
Yep.
am not going to, because we associate lecturing. And listen, I'm guilty of this. When I think of somebody lecturing me, I assume someone is judging me. Like, that's where my brain kind of goes. You're lecturing me, you're judging me. Like, this is what's going on, even if they're not, right? That's kind
Hmm.
of like correlates. So, when my kids come to me and they're going through something or something is difficult or even they just want like advice on something, I give them the autonomy to tell me what they need from me. You
That's
tell me
really
what,
important.
right? So I think that has been my biggest parenting win and that has literally been taught to me through Bloom and Grow coaching. That
Hmm.
was not something that was like you could read in parenting books when you're pregnant, right? Where they're like, "Oh, when kids get difficult and they go through scary things, like sit there and ask them like, do what do they need from
Right.
you?" Right?
Right.
Our generation, it was like, if I got upset or crying, we're like, I'm gonna give you something. You want me to give you something to cry about? Like,
Yes.
oh,
I
right,
heard that
blah,
phrase so
blah,
many fucking times.
you
Yes.
know, right? Or those problems that you're going through aren't really problems. Like, oh, okay, all right. So like, way to diminish what's really important, what is important to me right now when I'm struggling with,
Yeah.
right?
What's
So,
weighing heavy on me? Yeah.
but
I need to,
right,
yeah.
right. So I think that has been my biggest parenting win. I mean, do I make parenting fails? Yeah, all the time, all the
We
time.
always do.
We always do. And
That's
I
fine.
don't pretend I don't pretend to be perfect, right? And that has been not only in my personal life with my children and being a mother, but that's been in my business too, right? Like being transparent, and you and I've talked about this briefly, like being as authentic as possible with running a business and being a mom. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's kind of somewhere in the middle where the balance is. Maybe that's where the real balancing act is like realizing like, yes, I can be authentically myself in my business and authentically myself in parenting. And that's good. That's okay.
Yeah.
Like that,
Yeah.
that's a good,
Well, I
and I
think,
think
and there's,
that,
oh, sorry.
yeah, no, go
There's
for
like
it.
a certain, like your authenticity is like your truth, right? So like not everybody has tapped into that or understands what that is. And so like
Yeah.
walking around, you know, like being in this industry and meeting these people that are also like in a wellness kind of realm has been eye-opening. But there's a lot of wellness people walking around that have also not done the work. So it's kind of interesting. I'm the awkward one that shows up that says, you know, like shit, sorry I'm late. Was trying to get my kids out the door, but this one had a hairbrush stuck in her hair and this happened or whatever. And like everybody's like, oh, okay. Well, because like this is life, it's not whatever. There's extenuating circumstances, or I'll say more embarrassing things too. I can't think of anything at the moment, but and like for years, even, when I was married, struggled financially. And, if I had, my sister would ask me to like, go and do something and I'm like, I really can't swing it this week or whatever, she'd be like, oh, okay, like, but I'm like, well,
Yeah.
I'd much rather be honest about it. I do want to go, but
Yeah.
I can't afford it, like, and when I find that now, like when I talk about those things, it opens the door and gives other people a voice because they want to say that, but they're too afraid to say that, and what you're doing with at-risk youth is, and your children, giving them a voice, and it's a truly beautiful, beautiful thing. It's Bloom and Grow coaching is just something quite amazing, I have to say, and you should be really proud of yourself for all the work that you've done. I think we're going to have a part two because I don't even know if anybody's still listening at this point, but I'm kidding. They are. But I really would love the further the conversation, about personal growth journey too, because I think yours is beautiful as well. And that just that's an ode to you as a person, as a business owner, as a mom, and everything in between. It's been so great having you here. Tell
Thank you.
me if there are any events coming up that you have going on throughout any of the counties. I know you guys,
Yeah.
I've seen you at events. And so like, what do you have a list there of what you
So
have coming up?
sure. So off the top of my head, actually, this upcoming weekend, this Saturday, we'll be at Vernon Powell. That is, I forget what time it starts. 10 a.m. I think.
Maybe
10
look it up
a.m.
on Facebook, maybe. Is it an event on Facebook that can be found? Yeah.
The other is Bloom and Grow Coaching is going to have a table at Sussex County Pride, which I am like so beyond excited for.
That's exciting. That's on the 14th, I think, right?
14th.
Okay.
So yeah, 14th. So that's one is we're like super super excited for. So
Awesome.
and we'll probably be at the Sussex County Fair and all of those things like within Sussex County. I mean, we are definitely going to be doing things in like more of like Morris County too,
Hmm.
and Warren and Passaic and Bergen and Somerset and Hunterdon. So it's kind of spacing ourselves out and doing as many events. But the next
Right.
ones are this weekend on Saturday, and then the 14th at Sussex County Pride.
Awesome. Great. Well, good. Bloom and Grow is doing great things. Where can everybody find your information? What is your website and
Yeah,
Facebook? Is it? Yeah.
it's www.bloomandgrowcoachingllc.com, and it's Bloom and Grow Coaching. You can find us on Instagram and also on Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jodi. I can't wait for part two to see what else we dive into. I really appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. If you liked this episode, please hit like or subscribe wherever you are listening or watching. Share it with a friend if you think that they could benefit. And as always, I am thinking of you and sending you love, and I will see you soon.